This video is going to show you how to turn any number back into a fraction as long as it is a rational number. So if I end up doing 9 divided by 5 and I get a decimal here, and I want to simplify this fraction so that I have it in simplest form, I can take that 1.8 and turn it into a fraction by clicking math. Now I don't have to retype 1.8 because that was my last answer. I can hit the math button right here. I can press fraction, enter on fraction. Then I can press enter on that because that takes the last answer, turns it into a fraction, which is 9/5, which is what I had, but I wanted to make sure that it was simplified as possible. So turning any rational number into a fraction is possible on the calculator. The same thing you can do on Desmos when you type in a fraction or a decimal, and on the left-hand side it has a little fraction button. You click on it, that's what this does. So any rational number I can do this for. So if I take the square root of 3 and I press enter, I get a decimal. If I click math and then I press enter on fraction and then fraction, it still gives me a decimal. The reason this happens is because the square root of 3 is an irrational number, which means that this decimal continues on forever. It means I cannot turn this into a fraction. And that's already known because this is an irrational number. This is a rational number because it can be written as a simplified fraction. This is an irrational number because I cannot turn this into a simple fraction. Same thing with pi is an irrational number. So if I press second pi, enter, math, enter on fraction, and then press enter, it still gives me this decimal because pi is an irrational number. I can use this to also turn any fraction into a decimal. So I can take my function, my first function up here, f1, so that's the green button, so that's alpha, f1 is y equals. I can turn numerator over denominator, so if I have 5/4, I press enter, it gives me the fraction, because it's automatic. That means if I keep it in fraction format, it'll give me fraction format. Not all calculators have this option because of the updated software. But if I need this to be a decimal, I can turn this fraction into a decimal. So I go back to math, but I want number 2 since that's decimal. So I'm going to say that last answer that I have, 5/4, to a decimal. I'm going to press enter, and it gives me 1 25/100, or 1 1/4. So I can turn numbers into fractions by pressing math, enter on fraction, and I can turn a fraction back into a decimal by pressing math and go enter on decimal and press enter on that. So that's how we can go between fractions and decimals for rational numbers in a TI calculator.